Translations. Unless you speak Hebrew or Greek, we all need them, but be careful. The translation you choose to study from can affect how you understand the story. I don't know if you remember, this isn't religious, this is politics, but way back in 2004 in Canada, the Liberals campaigned against the Conservatives, and the whole campaign was based off of be careful of their hidden agenda. And they never really outright told us what the agenda was. But we all were supposed to know that that agenda was scary. And you gotta be really careful. Because if that agenda, it could change everything. And this could be as scary or maybe not so scary. But it is very interesting of what translation you're using, of how this story unfolds, and where it guides your mind. I'm going to try to take a very neutral one. I like to focus on the Gospels because I like to focus on the life of Jesus. So I came across this in Luke chapter 18, verse 18. That kind of works good. So in the story, it's largely about a young man asking Jesus how he can inherit eternal life. Okay, so that's very broad. But the different translations translate who is asking Jesus. So the first introduction there of who is asking Jesus the question. And I'm going to try to show you how the translators guide your mind of what you're thinking about. So let's just start off. Let's just get our reference here for we're on the same page here. So King James Version, New International Versions, two very popular versions. I'll just kind of read it from them. They're both very similar. So the NIV reads, a certain ruler asked him, good teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life? Okay, so you're familiar with that? The King James Version, so the much older translation, reads, a certain ruler. So exact same thing, right? They both translated certain ruler, which, to be honest, tells me nothing. I have thoughts about a ruler's, some kind of authority figure, but beyond that, it tells me nothing. Absolutely nothing, I guess. But that's where the majority of the translators land on. They call him a ruler or a certain ruler. But then when I was looking through it, I found there's actually many different translations, and they do slight little tweaks. Some I think are helpful, and some I think might be a misdirect. Follow along with me. So first of all, let's start with the contemporary English version, the CEV. It reads, an important man. So that kind of helps me understand. So I'm knowing that Jesus is not just talking to some old peasant along the street. So they've elevated that this is an important figure. This is somebody that Jesus should probably take notice when he comes and asks him the question. So that kind of guides my mind that direction. So the message, I was recently watching some videos about how to the whole different best translations, etc. But the message is kind of more of a paraphrase. Eugene Peterson, I think, is the one who wrote it. Translate it. Anyways, so much more of a thought for thought, not exact worded, but of course he uses exact words. And he reads, one day one of the local officials. So he's guiding me a little bit along here. And then I'm thinking, okay, so this is not just a ruler of anywhere. It's a local. So wherever Jesus happens to be at the moment here, it's somebody there. And one of the authority figures from where Jesus is being asked the question. So strata, pyramid here. I know he's not at the bottom here. He's somewhere up here, this man. He's a local official. He's not at the federal level, but a local official. Something guides me along. The New American Revised Edition, similar thing. The Voice, they call him a public official. Public? I didn't know you could have a private official. But whatever. It's kind of an interesting one. The New Life version, so that's the NLV, gives us a slightly different take. They say a leader of the people. So when I hear that, I think a man of the people. You know, those down homies, those populist kind of guys. Eh, maybe. Maybe that's what they're trying to say is somebody who's locally recognized, talks and mingles with the locals there, and he's kind of their honest spoken leader. Huh? Gets you thinking in that direction. Now, the Phillips Bible translation and the International Bible and also the Easy Bible, they take a slightly different take and they call him a Jewish ruler. So they still got the ruler in there, but they bring in his ethnicity. So not just that he's a ruler, but he's Jewish. Now that can really guide you down a garden path if you play into that too deeply. Is this conversation only important because the man is Jewish? That's an interesting question. And is that critical to understand that? Is his ethnicity actually matter that much to understand the passage? Just as a little aside and for fun. The Phillips, I just love how they translate this. So Luke 18, verse 18. Then one of the Jewish rulers, as I said, Jewish ruler, put this question to him, Master, I know that you are good. Tell me. Oh, it's just beautiful. And then he says, please, what must I do to be sure of eternal life? I just love how Phillips is like, I'm going to make this guy very polite. I'm going to throw in the word please. Because I don't speak Koine Greek. I don't read it. I don't have the Greek New Testament in front of me. But I doubt it the word please is in there. But it's just beautiful. Beautiful how Phillips throws it in there. Because he's like, this is a polite man. It's wonderful. I love it. And a slightly different translation of take of it is by the Wycliffe Bible and Jubilee Bible. Jubilee Bible 2000. I don't know, is there a 1980s edition? I have no idea. But the Jubilee Bible 2000 reads, a certain prince. Now, to me, a prince has to do with royalty. Canadian, so I right away think to King Charles III, Queen Elizabeth II, much more. She's still my monarch. Too bad she's gone. But that's where I think of the royal family. So then I'm really thinking, oh, is this man attached to royalty? And then I'm starting to think, well, who's royalty in the time of Jesus in Galilee? Herod Antipas, the son of Herod the Great. Ooh, well, that guides me a much different direction. That's makes like, oh, is this an official related to Herod's court? Like a prince would be his like son or grandson or something like that. Is that who's actually coming here and asking Jesus? Now that takes me down a much different path using the word prince. That one I'm a little bit like, no, I think that one's probably giving you a wrong direction here because I really doubted this man is associated with the royal family of Herod. I could be wrong, but I really doubt it, especially when you compare it to Mark and Matthew of how they talk about the man. Prince, royal family is probably a misdirect. But then there's a slightly different angle. So the TLB, the Today's Living Bible, puts it as a Jewish religious leader. Now that comes packed with meaning or baggage, however you want to look at it. So again, they're emphasizing authenticity. So this man is Jewish, which you probably could assume he's Jewish just by the fact that he's interacting with Jesus. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Jesus seemed to interact with a lot of people, but he did clearly say, my ministries to the lost sheep of Israel. He didn't really seem to like to talk to other people very much. Most of the record in the Gospels, he's talking to Jews. So probably safe to assume that he's a Jewish, but then they put him as a religious leader. So this isn't just a regular guy asking, hey, how can I inherit eternal life? No, they're reading into the text, who debates and talks about religious things? It's got to be a religious leader. Is that accurate? Hmm? You could read it that way. Obviously, they did. One more thing. So, the New Living Translation and the Tree of Life version both take a slightly take, they drop off the Jewish, but they keep the religious leader. Again, I think they're bringing some of their own baggage to the table and saying, who discusses theology? It's a religious man, a religious leader. I wonder if they could have translated that religious teacher, professor. Is that what they're trying to hint at? Maybe, because that would fit in the categories like the Pharisees often ask Jesus hard questions, and they would be the educated religious individuals or leaders within the community of Jesus' time. So maybe they're leaning into that direction. I am not sure. Just to finish this all off, in the Strong's Greek, so the interlinear Bible, number 758, archon is the word that they're translating, and they say simply it's a ruler or a chief, which again probably gets us right back to why the majority of the translations translated a ruler or a certain ruler, and they don't bring any more in translation into that or interpretation. But like I said at the beginning, not very helpful. What I do think is helpful is having access to all these different translations. And really, I think as a student of Jesus trying to understand his life, there are many great apps. There's many great websites that have all the different translations that you can just play through. I think you should take your time and do that. Because there may not always be the best translation, but if you read multiple translations, you kind of get a sense of who's bringing in baggage, who's not bringing in baggage, and which understand actually is helping you better understand it. And this is a little bit for aside, but something that's really been playing on my mind is I think actually that's what happened with the synoptics. Mark wrote first, Matthew looked at him and was like, I can get a better understanding here. And Luke continued with that frame of thought. I can help better understand what happened in the life of Jesus. So, good luck. Translation's the best, is the one you read, but do try to expose yourself to different translations to help broaden your mind as you're trying to understand the life and words of Jesus.